Sometimes when it rains, baby, it pours. On yesterday's show, we discussed a decommitment up from Dijon Johnson with John Garcia Jr. of Sports Illustrated. On the day that show came out, four-star tight end Ty Lockwood decommitted from Ohio State and committed to Alabama. What went into this decision? What can we learn about this announcement from a tweet from his mom? We'll discuss that right here on Locked on Buckeyes.
You are Locked on Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked on Buckeyes, part of Locked on Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Wednesday, August 3rd in the year 2022, and I want to thank you for making Locked on Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we'll look into different position battles as we start preparing for fall camp, which starts later this week. But before we get to any of that, there have been a string of issues via defensive recruiting for the Buckeyes. We mentioned it a while ago. Tackett Curtis went to USC. John Walker committed to UCF. And then there was a linebacker that Caleb Downs, Curtis is a linebacker. Caleb Downs, a safety, committed to Alabama. And a lot of people are wondering what's going on with the defensive recruiting at Ohio State. We can pinpoint numerous areas that if I were a recruit, I would look at it and say, this situation over here to my left is better than the situation to my right, which is at The Ohio State University. But then yesterday, actually it started a couple days ago, where Ty Lockwood and a lot of other athletes were getting their official offers from universities. And Ty Lockwood, since he was a Buckeye commit, he tweeted a video, and people were tweeting videos of their official offers from Ohio State and from different universities around the country. Well, Ty Lockwood, in the midst of all of this, ended up posting, I believe it was a video, and it said he was committed to Alabama. He had quickly taken that down. And then the next day, literally the next day, Ty Lockwood, as I am on the Twitter just searching things, trying to see what's going on, Ty Lockwood ends up announcing his decommitment from Ohio State. He's a four-star tight end. The kid that I have said numerous times looks like Bobby Carpenter. That is Ty Lockwood. So he announces his decommitment from Ohio State and at the same time announces his commitment to Alabama. So on the football field, let's just look at how both schools utilize their tight ends, what schools feature their tight ends more than the other, and see it doesn't make football sense. I don't have to go very far. Many of you know Ohio State's lack of utilization of their tight end is really one thing that would kind of hold their offense back. They may say, Jay, they had the number one offense last year in total offensive yards, which is true. But imagine if they used Ruckert. Imagine if they used more guys in the backfield, just mainly Ruckert, Ruckert and Stover last year. A little bit of Mitch Rossi. I mean, let's be honest now, the offense would have been better, and guys like Njigba and Wilson and Olave would have been able to get open a whole lot easier than they were, which they did not have problems last year getting open on the field. But let's not focus on football because, well, that is a big factor. And we know Alabama and Nick Saban, they're going to utilize the tight end more than Ohio State. That's not crazy. That's been something for years. And Nick Saban has done that very well. But let's look at something a little bit different. John Garcia Jr. yesterday discussed and highlighted oh so well how sometimes there are things that are outside of football that dictate where athletes go and dictates situations as far as where decommitments come from, who decommits, why they decommit. Is it a family dynamic? Is it something that they just get homesick? They want to stay in their hometown? A coaching situation? What goes into that? Well, Ty Lockwood's mom, April Lockwood, quote tweeted Ty in his announcement to Alabama yesterday. And I do believe in this. We can see a little bit about what the family was thinking about, and maybe a factor that went into this decision by Ty Lockwood to decommit from Ohio State and commit to Alabama. I'm going to read it word for word. Quote, "This was a very, very hard and personal decision for our family. We love Buckeye Nation and the staff at Ohio State and wish them only the best. However, selfishly, looking forward to having my son closer to home. Hashtag Roll Tide, end quote. Now, I don't know the family. I've discussed the family. I believe either Ty Lockwood's dad or somebody else follows me on Twitter. And so there is that, if you want to put some stock in that follow right there. But I do think with the situation and Miss April Lockwood as mom, I'm not saying go out there on the Twitter and say this, but she put it out there on Front Street. Mom, is selfishly looking forward to watching her son play football more than if he was playing at Ohio State. Their family, I do believe, is from Tennessee and Nashville. And think about the dynamic. There's already an SEC school that Alabama's going to play. I do believe Alabama plays Vanderbilt. If not, I know they play Tennessee. So those are a couple schools right there in their own state that they'll be able to see every single year. You factor in Nashville in their proximity and driving distance or location geographically to other SEC schools. I completely understand why his mom said selfishly, I am looking forward to seeing my son play football more often this year, or not just this year, but in the future. She also ended up tweeting out top 10 reasons a recruit will decommit before signing day. The very first one is changes in the family situation that requires them to be closer to home, health, financial, or emotional. And there's just a list of 10. This is a graphic. I don't know if she put it together or where she saw it, but there's some other ones. Coaching staff changes, coaches lying during the recruiting process, coaches pulling the offer and telling the recruit to decommit, which is true. That does happen. That is something that does not get put out there on Front Street. But I've heard about athletes saying they have an offer from a school when they don't have that offer at all. But there are times that offers get pulled. That is reality. Another one, dream school offer comes in. Recruit is 15 to 17 years old. Kid, he's a 15 to 17-year-old kid playing adult recruiting games, which is true. But also when you think about it, I mean, a lot of things in recruiting, they might be a little weird. And maybe Ty Lockwood's dream school was Alabama, and he got that offer, I do believe, a week ago. These things happen. Some people might say, is there a problem in recruiting? I don't think so. The luxury, Ohio State already has a tight end committed in this class in Jelani Thurman, who is a two-sport athlete. Don't think he'll play basketball at Ohio State, but there is a level of athleticism that I hope the Buckeyes utilize on the field. Ty Lockwood's decommitment might puzzle some, might confuse some, but some things are bigger than just the X's and O's or I commit, I'm going there. Sometimes you might get something, an offer that says, hey, great, that's where I wanted to go the entire time. Or maybe, just maybe, not saying this is the final decision, but maybe playing closer to home so your parents, your family, your friends can see you play more often. That's something that goes into your decision as well. Ty Lockwood, I hope the best for him. I really look forward to seeing him play the football at Alabama down there in Tuscaloosa. Hey, it's not the end of the world. The Buckeyes have a tight end in this class, and we will be looking forward to seeing Jelani Thurman and the rest of the 2023 commits play football really, really soon. Camp starts later this week. We discuss position battles first on the offensive side of the ball right here next on Locked on Buckeyes. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. You can check out different sports and get up-to-date information on sports like Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Those of you may have wondered and may have realized there's something different about Jay's teeth. Now, I don't normally publicize different things, but since I'm on the YouTube and the video, I want to give a quick shout out to my dentist, Dr. Soder. I've been going there quite a bit over the past few months, trying to get my teeth in order. And I am actually really thoroughly impressed with the work that has been done so far. Don't neglect things like your teeth, your health, things like that, guys. I would not advise doing it. Take advantage of those things. Take advantage of the things you have and you're able to take care of. If you don't have insurance, It's not a pub. It's just free. I would highly encourage you to get insurance because that has really helped me and benefited me in this little quest to get my teeth right. There was a gap in my 2 front teeth. That is taken care of. And I ain't gonna lie to you, y'all. I love it. I love this stuff. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Soder in Indianapolis, Indiana for getting your boys' teeth right. Fall camp starts later this week. There are numerous position battles that we're going to be discussing today throughout the rest of the show. Some of you might say, ooh, that makes sense, or ooh, that'll make sense. That's why we're here to discuss them. If you have some thoughts about a position battle, or maybe you agree or disagree with something I say, leave a comment down there in the YouTube comment section. That's what it's there for. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page as well, because you never know what's going to be coming at you that's only on the YouTube. So on the offensive side of the ball, I do believe when it comes to position battles, there would not be a position battle for quarterback, for running back, for the offensive line, and for the top 2 spots for receiver. I do believe Marvin Harrison Jr. will be an outside receiver. I do believe Jackson Smith-Njigba can play outside, but I do believe he will be a slot receiver for the Buckeyes. Left to right on the O-line, Paris Johnson Jr., Donovan Jackson, Luke Whippler, Matt Jones, and then DeJuan Jones. I do believe those are the 5 from left to right on the O-line. No questions there. I don't believe that's going to change. But let's go to the one outside of the tackle on either side will be tight end. Many people say Cade Stover moved back to tight end because he is going to be the starting tight end for the Buckeyes, and that may be true. But when it comes to the passing variety, I do think Joe Royer, we have discussed this previously, I do believe Joe Royer is the better option for the Buckeyes when it comes to the passing game. I think Stover is the better blocker. But when you factor in the passing game and the blocking, I do think Royer has a chance to be the better overall tight end for the Buckeyes in 2022. So I'm going to be very interested to look at that situation there and to see how that 1-2 punch of Stover and Royer, who gets the starts, who was in that second role or the offline tight end position. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Royer at tight end 2? Is it going to be Stover at tight end 2? I personally really wouldn't think that Stover would go back to offense if he's not going to start. But I've also seen Royer play enough, and I've seen him progress in a way that makes me believe he's a better asset in the passing game. So I truly wonder, what role does he play with these 2 players? I do believe when he gets to Stover, if you're going to run 2 tight and heavy run formations, that's Cade Stover's bread and butter. Sorry, Siri. I'm getting a little excited talking ball. No, I do think that's Cade Stover's bread and butter. I think Royer's going to be a better blocker than people think. But in that passing game, and we all know how Kevin Wilson, the OC, how Brian Hartline, the passing game coordinator, how Ryan Day, the head coach, we all understand how they're going to try to utilize the tight end in more of the passing game this year, especially I do think with Brian Hartline's fingerprints on the passing game. I would anticipate seeing more passes and more maybe quick passes, pop pass type deals, maybe tight end up the seam off of play action, those types of deals to get guys like Stover and Royer open more often to open up passing windows for Njigba, Harrison Jr. on the outside. Yes, I did not mention G. Scott Jr. because I don't think he's going to be somebody that's going to be a tight end lining up on the line at the end of the line a lot throughout the season. However, if there is somebody that's split out as a split tight end or a split end, not so much a split end, but a split off of the line, flex tight end. That's the word I was looking for. Is that Scott Jr.'s role? Or do the Buckeyes roll with Royer the entire time and say, Scott Jr., sorry, these 2 guys, they're better suited for this role. We already talked about me saying that the Buckeyes should utilize Scott Jr. in the flex tight end role. I still think they should. I will not go away from that for a very long time. But once the season starts, we get to see what the coaches are doing with the passing game. That role might not be something that they take advantage of, which I still think that they should. So when it comes to the offense, I only see really 2 positions that there's a position battle. That third receiver spot, and if they do use a 4th receiver, which I still think, said it last year, I'll say it again, I think the Buckeyes should use 4 wide receivers at some point in time. because it's just better for them to utilize all the talent that they have. If you are the Buckeyes, there are two guys that are in the running for that third receiver spot at Ohio State: Julian Fleming, Emeka Egbuka. CJ Stroud at Big Ten Media Days ended up saying, and I was kind of shocked when I heard it. I'm sitting there, as he's saying it, looking at him when he's behind the microphone. And he's like, Julian Fleming, y'all just don't know. Man, y'all just don't know. Y'all just watch and see. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, have the injuries really been the only thing holding him back as his recovery and these him always having to deal back from injuries? Is that really the only thing that's holding him back? If he's healthy, is he somebody that can compete with Egbuka for that other receiver spot? I mean, honestly, I'm just in a wait and see mode. I'm not going to knock him for the injuries because, I mean, those things happen. I'm personally in a wait and see mode. But when I saw the look on Stroud's face, when I saw how excited Stroud was discussing Julian Fleming, it was kind of in a calm mode, but it was still like, I know something y'all don't know. That was the kind of mood that I got from him. And so personally, if that's the case, I truly wonder, if that's it, does Egbuka get more, or does Fleming get more touches and I almost say carries, touches and catches, things of that nature, receptions? What's the wait and see mode? That's a battle that can be decided during fall camp, training camp, which starts later this week. And then also Cam Babb missed last year due to an injury. He's a redshirt senior. What role does he have on this offense? I mean, we can't forget that there are really a lot of talented guys that are on this team, on this roster. Everyone focuses on, we all do, Egbuka, Fleming, and Jigba and Harrison Jr., but Cam Babb is right there as well. Should Ohio State ever go 5 wide, take all the tight ends and your running backs off the field? Absolutely. Oh, my goodness. Absolutely, yes. Utilize all your weapons. Think about this. If you go from 5 wide to go 20, well, they probably wouldn't do 22 personnel. If you go 5 wide with no backs or tight ends on the field, then the very next play, you come in 12 personnel. You have Trevion Henderson in the pistol, and then you have Stover and Royer back in. Not only is that going to be an advantage for your offense, that could easily be a penalty for the defense as they're substituting personnel packages and getting a heavier set on the field as you bring your heavier set in. It could lead to a lot of problems. The tight ends, Royer, Stover, Scott Jr. I'm watching that tight end position battle. For receivers, Egbuka, Fleming. What is Cam Babb's role in this offense? How does he compete to get on the field? That's another battle I'm watching in training camp as well. That's a lot for the offense. Only 2 positions, but there's a lot that goes into that. There's more on defense. A lot of it's in the front 7. It's only in the front 7. What position battles will we discuss about? Will we talk about? We'll hit them next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. When it comes to the defense and their battles on players to get on the field, you might be somebody that says, Jay, I got it all covered. I know who's going to start. There really will be no battle. I still think right now, all offseason, and even right now as they're working out, lifting weights, doing their conditioning leading up to the start of fall camp, I personally believe a coach like Larry Johnson, a coach like Jim Knowles, the LB coach, Jim Knowles, putting that hat on for a second, I think they're still wondering, scratching their heads and watching the film saying, I don't know who should be here playing. I have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. And they're simply just trying their best to figure this thing out as they go. So on the defensive side of the ball, I do not see any position battles in the secondary. As weird as that may sound, I do believe Cam Brown on one side, Denzel Burke on the other. Those are your corners. I think for the 3 safety spots, Ronnie Hickman, Josh Proctor, Tanner McAllister, I do think those are on lock. You can say whatever you want and say, well, Sonny Styles is going to compete to get on the field. I don't think he'll start. You can say Court Williams should get on the field. He might play. I don't think he'll start. So when you think about all those things, Lathan Ransom, recovering from injury, things have gone well. I still don't think he'll start. And so those are why I think the 5 DBs on the Buckeyes, that is settled. No battle at all. But let's go up a little bit. Right up front to the D line. When it comes to the D tackles, I do think when you think about Teron Vincent and Jerron Cage, those guys may start, but you also have Ty Hamilton and Tyleek Williams and even Mike Hall, who are 2 or 3 of the other guys that are really going to compete with these guys here. Now, I do think Teron Vincent is probably going to start. I would not be shocked if Tyleek Williams starts as well, more of a heftier or a beefier interior of the D-line than what we saw last year and even some of the year before, more consistently. But this right here, this battle we have going on, is one that I do think, as Ryan Day stated during Big Ten Media Days, the Buckeyes' mindset going into playing Notre Dame is to do what is needed to win the game. It came as a response to a question about Evan Pryor and if Evan Pryor will have packages for him while running the football and be in the running back group. Ryan Day simply said maybe after game 2 or game 3 will we think about adding packages in for Evan Pryor. But right now the mindset is to simply just win the game. And so when it comes to the D tackles, I would not be surprised if they want experience early and kind of had and let the rotation run itself to figure out who in that game is going to make a bigger splash and play them more. But there are 5 D tackles that could consistently, that should be in the battle for just a starting spot at Ohio State. That's how talented these youngsters are. Keep your mindset out for that. At defensive end, you've heard me once. You'll hear me say it twice. I'll say it 1,000 times. I think JT Tuimoloau, I may call him JTT at some point, but just the abbreviation of his name and shorten that thing out. I think JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer should be the starting defensive ends. Game 1 against Notre Dame, no questions asked, and I do think that they should be starting every single game for the Buckeyes all year long. But they're still in a battle right now to figure out and solidify themselves if that'll be the case. You have JTT and Jack Sawyer competing with players like Zach Harrison and Javonte Jean-Baptiste, who are trying to be the older guys that are trying to be the veterans and that are trying to start and play football all the time. So Zach Harrison's one. We've all talked about him numerous times. Zach Harrison, is this the year it's going to click? Maybe, but I view Zach Harrison like I viewed Nebraska. I have seen you under Scott Frost for numerous years. I have seen what you are under Scott Frost. Oh, I don't know why I believe you're going to be different this year than you have been the previous years. You got to prove it to me so I can really buy into the thing that I want you guys to be. Zach Harrison. I have seen Zach Harrison play football. He is a good football player. He is not the All-America tight end that some thought he would be. It's not a problem. He is a good football player. Keep that in mind. I do think Zach Harrison is going to start some games, might even start against Notre Dame. But I still think JTT and Jack Sawyer are the guys that should be starting. I do think their size, strength, speed, all that combination, their moves, their counters, being able to play multiple positions, I think those are the guys Larry Johnson should roll with all year, all long at defensive at the DM position. But we got to watch that battle very, very closely, during fall camp. At linebacker, I'm going to do this very quickly because I have used more time than I thought I was going to. At linebacker, I got 5 names here. Now, we recently discussed with Ryan Roberts of Rise and Draft Scouting. I'll try to go fast, but you know, your boy gets going, and sometimes he does not stop. We discussed with Ryan Roberts of Rise and Draft Scouting, who will be back on the show next week discussing the draft eligible DBs that Ohio State has, which is every starter but Denzel Burt. We discussed Joe Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg and how they're probably going to be the starter. Cody Simon is not the athlete it's not so much the guy that Eichenberg is, which is why you would think it makes sense that Ike would be the starting middle linebacker. Still Chambers, the outside linebacker, or you still could play the inside or middle linebacker. But keep your mind and keep watching, keep looking for the next couple names. Reed Carrico and Chip Trainum. Chip Trainum, real name Diamante. Chip Trainum is a RB transfer from Arizona State, transferred back to Ohio where he is from, and he is transferring to the linebacker position. There are a lot of traits, there are a lot of instincts that can translate right from the running back spot to the LB spot. But with that in mind, we have to simply think about this. What if he is so athletic and he is so physical, he is so good, his instincts put him right in the starting lineup, and he jumps Cody Simon, he jumps Tommy Eichenberg? That is a reality. In Ohio, they could literally have 2 guys that came to college to play running back that are now playing linebacker, and they're the best linebackers at Ohio State. If I'm Eichenberg, if I'm Simon, I don't think my job is solidified. I don't think my spot on that depth chart is concrete. That could change tomorrow. That could change today. I personally think Chip Trayanum has a really good shot to be a middle linebacker for the Buckeyes and to move up the depth chart really quick over the next couple of weeks. And then Reed Carrico. I know we said a lot that he's probably going to be the Sam linebacker in a 3LB set. But what if he's so good? He moves up and he is a middle linebacker for the Buckeyes. Another name to watch, another name to look out for, someone else that will make us pay more attention to fall camp, the position battles, and oh, baby, what we can see from the Buckeyes when they step on the field to start the college football season. You guys can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're out of here on this hump day. And when we come back tomorrow, we'll be talking more fall camp on Friday. We will continue our drafting the best Ohio State linebackers over the past 20 years, kind of celebrating the 20-year success that the Buckeyes have had, and also looking back and celebrating the 0-2 national championship win over the Miami Hurricanes. Guys, it's a Wednesday. Your boy's out of here. Have fun, y'all. Let's enjoy the time we have together.